people have actually recovered people like I have, I've seen it from both ends, inside and out. I've seen electrical shock therapy. You know, how much more do people have to learn about this kind of stuff? These kind of cabal things are still set up. They have to be actually totally dissolved and leveled. You know,
Yes.
we've done what we can from educating people, and at this point, there are some people that you just can't get through to them, and this is where that psychopathy comes in. You know, we can go into the whole thing, whether they're cloned, whether there's no uplink, and this is what, when we were looking at some of the cloning things through what's called the NCBI and the Human Genome Project that Patty Broussard had gotten a lot of papers and we downloaded from, including the cloning techniques. But they were actually taking people and seeing what they could do to water them down, and it's no different than initiation. If you're gonna, subjugate to bending for like almost like Muslim or Sharia law, which is, same sort of thing, illegal aliens here to start with. It shouldn't be here. We're getting areas coming up into these borders. People aren't aware. They're not going through all the borders. I've actually seen stuff where people have been coming in through side borders, and the RCMP is letting them in, and going through these other borders are being redirected. So are these adrenochrome harvesting? Or are they not going
Like
through the
walking the
systems?
road.
What's going on? We're well aware of that. And the thing is that they're violating all the laws of the land, and that's where people need to go back to. But when a parent, a mother, I thought it was bad enough when I'd see them with, pop in their thing or Coke or giving them this stuff and these iPads. You don't even have a developed brain. I mean, let alone the 5G. I spent a lot of time, an entire thing, as you know, the time difference. But my 2 in the morning was talking to Mark Steele way back when we started putting the things in to do with 5G and the scalar wave technology, which was actually embedded into the proclamation of the Clan Mothers in 2013. So what they're doing, they can actually be taken in for crimes against humanity and treason, which is what we're going to do. And, you've given people a chance and given people a chance, but these parents, what they've done to the next generation, at least what happened when people were on a bit of a lockdown, while the operations are still ongoing, is that the amount of children that did not go into the hospital for vaccines and autism, and the amount of children that were saved through not going through abortion clinics, we basically think we've saved another generation right now. And like anything, it's about sterilization. The vaccines were never really targeted so much for us. It was targeted for the children to make the genocide. And that's why they added more and more adjuncts and additives and, SV40 and the fetal cell lines and the thimerosal. It got worse and worse and worse. But it really was to make a compliable, almost like a super soldier, right? They're there physically, but there's nothing else present. And you can see that in the NCBI, that there was actually no DNA and data left. There was so much mutation done, and
So
you got to
look what's
remember there
happening.
are
Did you
some
see
bloodlines
the
that
video on the
doesn't.
girls in Argentina yesterday? That they've now announced that they can have legal abortions, and these girls, it was just wild watching these girls. Some of them were topless, running around with a microphone. They had weird, bizarre makeup on. And I'm watching this and I'm thinking, have they been targeted with something that is making them do that?
Yeah.
Like there's probably 100, 200 young girls there celebrating the chance to kill something. And it
Well,
was just, so, I wasn't sure if they were target. Honest to God, one guy on Twitter wrote, hey, if you guys are having sex with these things, like, you need to wake up. Like, don't procreate with these women. But I wasn't sure if there was something else at play because they seem to be in a certain age group. Like maybe I would say late teens, early 20s.
I know how aware you are. I lived in the Kootenays for quite a time with the Sinaic tribes on and off, which were declared extinct. So spent a lot of time with some of their tribal mothers and matriarchs as well in what is British Columbia. And there were different gatherings. One there was called Shambhala. I mean, we see what they call rainbow gatherings, very much like Burning Man, that type of thing. And what happens is that they bring in trance music. So they start already with the scalar wave technology and then the embedding of that. And then in many of the areas, we know, of course, Miles will know that Q552 is right below it. So the Shambhala was a gathering of the young women, and they could use them for whatever testing purposes they wanted. So you can see stuff like scalloping, date rape drugs, all sorts of things going on in these areas. And tracking chips. I saw girls that, had left there and actually where they were GPSing to go back to Calgary ended up on a different route, even though, they'd plugged in something. So the electronics, their whole DNA is being screwed, and monitoring people. We've known this for a long time. But it's not just the alcohol and the tobacco and these type of things that are laced. I mean, we're talking when you talk about a spiritual war, you're talking about the stuff like 5G and the activation of retroviruses and stuff. So what we thought was really, benign is not benign anymore, because it's coming back to bite everyone in the ass. And now we know that, these cancers are connected to the vaccines. So the more acidic you are, which is why, and I don't know if you've ever, I've shown some people here, but your pH is actually directly related into here.
Totally.
Okay. Totally. Yeah. And if you don't realize that, that's why all my clients have to get litmus paper here. So it depends. If you want your brain function, you want to be in that higher chakras, then you better be having your litmus paper almost turning that color. And that's why when you talked about stuff here, I'm just using a pamphlet of mine I hand out, but herbs and oils, womb saunas, going in and actually implanting them right where the trauma is. And one of the things I do, that's what I've been doing, teaching people yoni and vaginal steams. And I mean for men and for women. This is not just about, doing it for, the women, because we want to have fresh smelling little lady parts, as some people think. So I don't know. But for the punin there, or the vagina, I said I'll probably head out, off this planet speaking like 50 variations of how to say vagina in all these languages now. But it's important. It is about getting connected back. If you're in a relation, then it's about getting back and connecting with people on all these levels here. How are you going to connect with someone when you're in this shame, fear, everything else down here?
Right, and I agree with that, but the problem in our society, being abusive as it is, people put other people in those positions of shame.
Yeah.
And this is what, it's so much abuse. This is what the problem is people don't know how not to do it. And you just, whether they're on autopilot, they just wrote answers, they're going by what their families taught them or what they've learned somewhere else. And this, people don't seem to understand how much pain they're causing other people. And I'm hoping this is going to be part of the change, that people start to realize your words have power to them. And if you say something that's rude, that energy goes to that person.